Very good morning to all of you. Welcome in the session of decision making. Now, in the last session of decision making, we started with the 7 C's. What are the 7 C's which are important in decision making? And today we are going to discuss about the process of decision making, how we make a decision, what are the different steps of taking and making the decision. So before going with that, we'll quickly see what are the 7 C's of decision making. If you look about the C, basically, if you can see the image, what do you understand from this? This is which way to go, which alternate to select, which solution to select, which path to choose. That is what we see in this, like that is what we say as decision making. Now in decision making, we have different alternatives and different solution, different ways, and you have to select one best possible solution. How we are going to select that one best possible solution? We select that one best possible solution when we evaluate that, we find out all the pros and cons of that, we find out whether that is related to the problem which we have identified or not. And most important, we need to identify the problem for which you are looking for a solution. Without identifying the problem, you cannot take the solution. You cannot select any best possible alternative. So let's first see about what are the 7 different C's of decision making. The first we studied was construct. Construct means a clear picture precisely what must be decided. You should have in your mind that what exactly you want to decide. What solution you are looking for. That should be clear when we talk about construct. Example can be, think of a new working location in your mind. Before switching to the job or before entering into the corporate career or before starting your career, you need to be very clear with the location. Do you want to go out of your own hometown? Do you prefer some specific location, or do you prefer some specific location on which you don't want to go? For example, some can say, oh, I cannot survive in hot. I need a better environment. So you can say, I never want to go to Rajasthan for any kind of job. Or the climate over in Pune, in Bangalore, that is very pleasant, very nice. So you can say, I want to go for location over these jobs, either in Pune or in Bangalore. So at least have that clear picture in your mind, so that when you will be searching for your job, you will know that where you have to go and how you will select that location now. Because job location is something, when you start searching for a job, you need to be specific. You need to mention, you can go for job search as per the location also. So be clear with your working location. Compile. Make a list of the requirement which must be met. Make a complete list, like what all things are required, why you are taking this decision. On basis of this decision, what all things you are going to get. You need to compile all of them. The second C stands for compile. Third C stands for collect. What we need to collect? We need to collect information on alternatives to the decisions we are facing. When we are talking about having different alternatives and evaluating all the alternatives thoroughly, we cannot simply select anyone without collecting the information. Information as in different alternatives available, the pros and cons of different alternatives. If any one alternative you have used in past in your organization, what were the results, how effective that alternative was, you have to check all those things also when you are collecting the information. Consider options you have not explored that are relevant to the situation and that meet the requirement for your compiled list. If there are some options which you have not explored yet, which you have never tried in your organization, but you feel that no, these alternatives, these solutions can be one of the best solutions. So explore those solutions also. Start preparing those solutions, start working on those solutions even. Next, he says, compare. Now, what you have to compare? You have to compare the alternatives to the major choices. Compare like which alternate. You have list of alternate. From that, you have selected some from which you think that you will get the best and better result. Now, you have to compare them. Compare and consider and select the one which gives you the best, better result than any other choice. You need to examine the alternative from all the angles, not just by seeing the positives. You have to check on the negatives as well for the alternatives. And then only you can say, there might be think that the chances of failure are more for an alternative, but if it gets successful, if it works, then you will have very good loss, a very good profit. But right now you are not in a stage to take any kind of that risk. You are not financially sound. So you can go with the second alternative, which has which don't have very good potential of profit, but the chances of its failure, and on its failure the losses which you are going to incur is very minimum. So you have to evaluate from all the perspective, and then you have to select one best possible alternative. Consider. What you have to consider? You need to consider the positives and negative consequences of all your alternatives selected. You need to evaluate them thoroughly. You need to note down what are the positives and what are the negatives of the choice which I am about to make. So go through all of them very thoroughly. Next comes is, after consider, commit. Are you committed to your decision? See, you have done all the things. You have selected one best possible alternative. But now, what about your commitment? You have given so much of time for everything, for evaluating, for working. But not what about commitment? Are you committed for that? Will you put your decision into action? Making a decision is not giving you result. The results will be shown when you put that into action. So are you ready to put that into action? Then be committed to your decision, select one and put that into action. That is about commit. And with this, we have finished all the different types of C's, the 7 C's which are there in the process of decision making. Now, what is the process of decision making? Whatever it is, if we talk about our studying, there's a process of studying. If we talk about preparing a dish, there's a process of preparing a dish. If we talk about planning, there is also a process by which all things we consider and then we plan out the thing. Same way, we have a process in decision making also. Let's see what is the process of decision making. Basically, the process of decision making is divided into 7 important steps, starting very initially from identifying the problem and reaching till the end by selecting and implementing your decision. Identify the decision. What is your decision? What's the problem for which you are taking the decision? So let's say the problem is this goal. What goal to set? I don't know. I'm actually confused. So this is my problem. Now I'm having a lot of things running in my mind, but exactly I need to find one. So identify the problem you need to solve or the question you need to answer. first and foremost thing in decision-making process is identifying the decision. That means identify the problem which you need to solve. What is the problem? What problem you are facing? What you want to solve? You need to identify that things and the question you need to answer, or which question you have to answer, which question you are about to answer. You have to identify those things. Second, clearly define your decision. You need to be very clear on defining your decision, that this is my problem and for this specific thing, I want to have the solution. If you misidentify the problem, you will knock the decision train off the track before it actually starts. You know, the train of your decision will be out of the track before it actually starts, because you are unable to identify the right problem. Okay, let's take an example of the problem. In the organization, the problem was not with the person who was the leader, but the problem was with the channel of communication. And the ultimate problem was with the channel of communication, not with the leader. You know, a group of people, a group of 10 people who were working under the leader whose name was Mr. Aryan. Mr. Aryan was leading a group of 10 people. 10 people started complaining about the information is not reaching us timely. Whenever we get the information, it's either too late or we are being kept out of that information. The decisions, all these things are not reaching to us properly. Management got this information. Here the problem actually, okay, what do you think, what was the problem? Was it the leader's problem that he was not communicating? Or it was the problem from the management side, because they told that the information is not reaching us properly, timely decisions are not being taken, always last moment things come to us, and it becomes really difficult for us to work on that. So what do you think here, what was the exact problem? What problem you will identify listening to those 10 people who are working under Mr. Aryan? Now, management, instead of looking after the problem in depth, talking to them and giving them the opportunity to explain their problem in detail, listening to this, they just misidentified the problem, being that the leader is not communicating with them effectively. They found out that problem. They started working on that. They started giving ultimatums to the leader. They started selecting one new leader. They started telling the leader that you need to improve your communication. Now, once the leader was replaced, new leader came, the leader was being replaced, he was being shifted to some other department where he was not leading now. He was working as a follower, he was working as a subordinate. Now, even though the leader was replaced, still the people were facing the same problem. The team was going through the same challenges. Now what? See, you have just understand that this point. If you misidentify the problem, you will knock the decision train off the track. That's what you did. You couldn't identify the right problem. Here, the problem was not with the leader. The problem was with the flow of communication that used to happen within the organization from the top management. As soon as leader gets the information, he always used to pass it to the followers. But what if he is not getting the information on time? So here, the lack of communication. The lack of communication was the problem. You were supposed to improve that communication. You were supposed to make that channel smooth, but you took it in a wrong way. You misidentified the problem, that the problem is of leader, and you took all the necessary steps to solve that leader problem, which actually was not a problem. So make sure you identify the decision, you identify the problem, you don't misidentify the problem and take a decision which takes you off the track. All the time which you have used to appoint a new person, to explain that person, to remove the earlier leader was a waste. So make sure you are not misidentifying the problem and you are not taking off your train off the track. If you need to achieve a specific goal from your decision, make it measurable and timely. Now, if you want to achieve specific goal, if you want to achieve something, make sure you are making a time-based goal which is measurable, which has a time frame so that you know whether you have accomplished that or not. Gather relevant information. Now see, employee motivation. When you have to motivate the employee, when you have to find out the ways how you can motivate the employee, you gather information, you talk to all the employees, and you try to get the information like what thing is going to motivate them. So seeing this picture, you can say it's supervision, job security, pay and benefits, marketing options, company policies, status, relaxations. All these things are going to motivate the employee, right? You can see this. So what you have done for this? What did you do? You just gathered all the relevant information related to that problem. Here, if the problem was why employees are not getting motivated, how to motivate the employees. So you have to gather the relevant information. Now here, gather the information relevant to that choice. All the information related to that choice should only be gathered. No other information should be bought, should be collected, which diverts you from your main decision-making topic. So gather the information relevant to the choice. Do an internal assessment, seeing where your organization has succeeded and failed in areas related to that decision. Now you have to assess that. You have to check that in which all areas your organization has succeeded and failed in the area to your decision. Like if you have taken any prior decision related to the same problem, then how you have proceeded? You succeeded, you failed, what actually had happened? You have to evaluate that. You have to assess that internal thing. Then come seek information from external sources. It's not necessary that you just collect the information from a book, from your own personal understanding, from your own survey. You can gather information from many other sources too. What other sources can be there? What other sources can be there? There are a lot of sources like there can be, you can talk to the old employees or old person who are dealing with the same problem. You can get the information from there. You can gather information from the past experiences. You can gather information by talking to the persons who are expert in this area. You can gather information from the persons who are related to this problem. You can gather information from books, from external sources, hiring some specific team who deals in this decision making. So there are a lot of sources. You need to identify one and you have to gather the information from that. Don't become bogged down by too much information, complicating the process. Now, don't even collect so much of information that you are unable to scrutinize those information. You are unable to figure out what to select, what to reject, what is of importance, what is just a waste. So if you will have too much information, then it will become really difficult for you. It is going to complicate your process of gathering the relevant information. See, here I'm not saying gather information. Here I'm saying gather relevant information. So you need to focus on the word relevant. So make sure you only collect the information which is not complicating your process, which is relevant to the topic, not irrelevant to the topic. Next, identify the alternatives. Which alternatives you have to select? Identify possible solution to your problem. Now from here, you have to identify all the possible solutions to your problem. What are the solutions? What are the best possible alternatives? You have to select them. More than one option to consider when trying to meet a goal. Now you will have more than one option which you are going to consider if you are trying to meet a goal. Obviously, alternatives means many different possible solutions to get that work done. Right? There are many different solutions. So you have to select, you have to identify all those possible solutions which are there to solve the problem, to get the work done. More than one option to consider when trying to meet a goal. Now you have to consider more than one option when you're trying to meet a goal. You should always be ready with a backup plan in case your primary alternative fails. What you are going to do with what you are going to implement next, what is going to be your next alternative. You have to find out that, you have to work on that. For example, if your company is trying to gain more engagement on social media, your alternatives could include paid social advertisement, a change in your organic social media strategy, or a combination of two. Now here, if you're trying to gain more social media engagement, right now you're seeing that the social media engagement is not good for my organization. I'm not getting good social media. I'm not getting good social media coverage. So what are the possible alternatives you can look for? The possible alternatives can be, you can include some paid social advertisement. That is one of the alternative that you can go for. Paid social You can go for paid social advertisement. Then you can change in your organic social media strategies. So whatever strategies you were using till now, you can bring some changes in those strategies. Then you can go for a combination of both. Like, you are changing the strategies also, and along with that, you are doing a combination of two. Like, you are going with a paid social advertisement. Along with that, you are going with the changing of strategies also. So here, both the things you are doing, and this way you may come up to get good results. So that is what you have to do. You have to identify all the alternatives, and you have to check whether the combination of two is going to give you a good result, or selection of one is going to give you a good result. You have to identify them, and then you have to work accordingly. Next come is weight the evidence. Weight the evidence for or against said alternatives. There are 5 apples. Before selecting that red apple, you need to weigh the evidence. You need to check whether it is the best alternate or not. You have to collect all the evidences in favor as well as against that alternative. You have to go with all the possible alternatives. See what companies have done in the past to succeed in this area, and take a good hard look. Now you have to check, you have to see what the companies have done in the past. What companies have selected, what alternatives companies had worked, and and how they have succeeded in that area, and take a good hard look. You have to take a good look in that past experience. You know, it is always advisable when you are making a decision, make sure you are considering the past experience, you are going through the past experience, past solutions which were available with the company, which they have implemented in their working. Because when you are going to check on the past experience, when you are going to check on the past skills, you will get to know that what is better, which alternative, which option, which way has given the best results. So to know all these things, you must evaluate the past experience, the past area in which you have succeeded, the company has succeeded, and then select the best one. Identify potential pitfall for each of your alternatives. Even if you missed one positive, that may not affect you a lot, but make sure you are identifying all the possible pitfalls which will be there if you go with one specific alternative. And these should not be verbally, okay? You need to prepare proper report where you are writing the problem, where you are presenting the solution, where you are presenting the alternatives, and then you are weighting the evidences. You are writing against and for of that alternative. So identify potential pitfall for each of your alternatives. Weight those against the possible reward. Now, what are the possible rewards you will be getting? If you select one alternative, what are the rewards you will get? What are the outcomes? What are the positive outcomes you will get with those possible alternatives, and then go for the next step. Now here you have weighted the evidences, you have collected the information, you have evaluated, you have gone to the past experience also. So now what you have to do? What's the next step? The next step says, choose among alternative. So many different peoples. You have to select the one who gets the maximum star, that is star 4. Person is getting 4 star. That means I need to select that alternative which has the highest weightage, low pitfall, maximum result. So it is important part of the decision making. Now choosing amongst the alternative is the most crucial and most important part of decision making. Now, why this is most crucial, most important part of decision making process? Because on the basis of this, you will get your result, you will solve the problem in future. You have identified and clarified what decisions need to be made, gathered all relevant information. When you are reaching the stage 5, at that stage, you have gathered all the relevant information. You have clarified like what decision should be made along with gathering the information. You have done this. Now, develop and consider the potential pitfalls to take. Now you have to develop and consider the pitfalls, the potential pit paths to take. Now, how you're going to develop and consider potential path? By seeing their positives and pitfalls of each possible alternative. You're perfectly prepared to choose. Now, where you stand? Now you're perfectly prepared to choose the best alternative and now after choosing alternative, what's next? Take action. You were still in a dilemma what to select. You have two paths, the question mark. Now you will select the one. Once you have made your decision, act on it. Now it's the time to implement the decision. It's the time to discuss that decision with the people. It's the time to inform about your selected decision to the people. Now, once you have made your decision, act on that. You have to act on that decision. Now, develop a plan to make your decision tangible and achievable. Now, your decision you have selected, but you have to make a plan that how you're going to implement that, how you how you're going to make your decision tangible and achievable. For that, you need to keep your plan ready, right? Because without planning, you simply cannot say, oh, this is my decision, work on this. You need to have your action plan. Like, okay, this is my decision, and this is how you are going to work on this, and this is how you are going to achieve this. So you have to make your plan, and you have to make your plan how to achieve that decision. Develop a project plan related to your decision. Now you have to see the steps you took to make a decision, to come to the decision. Same way, you have to select a proper project plan, that this is the project plan which I have made, like this decision will go this way. These are the people who are going to implement this decision. It will be implemented in this specific way. It is best suitable for this group of people. So everything should be properly planned and properly mentioned. It should be written properly that yes, this is how I have made the decision, and this is how things are going to work in my decision. Once that is done, set the team loose on their task once the plan is in its place. Now you have to set the team to start working on that specific task. So the last, review your decision. You have to review. Once you set the goals, you review your goals, whether you are achieving that, how much you have achieved, till where you have reached, how close you have reached to your goal. Same way, you have to review your decision. Now, how you can review your decision? Take an honest look back at your decision. It should be honest. It should not be biased, taking into consideration that, okay, this is what I have decided, so it's going to be good or best only. No. Take an honest look back at your decision. How you can take honest look back? Ask yourself, did you solve the problem? Did this decision solve the problem for which it was being made? Was the problem solved? If the answer is yes, then yes. Did you answer the questions? While you were implementing the decision, there might be some questions which might have arisen from the people, like what we are going to get, how the result will look like, what we are going to achieve, what problems we are going to face while implementing that decision. Now, after problem, what all possible solution you have kept ready if we face those problems? Were you having all the answers to all the questions which people were asking? Okay. And the last question, did you meet your goal? Are you close to your goal for which you have taken this decision, for which you implemented this decision? Did you meet that goal? Did you achieve that goal? You need to answer that question. And once you have answered to all these questions, then you can say that yes, your decision was the decision-making process in which you have selected the alternative. That was actually the best possible alternative for this situation because you have achieved your goal. Now, these are the 7 steps which you have to consider when you are making a decision. Let's quickly check what are the 7 steps. So first step is identify the decision. You need to identify the problem. What is the problem? Where is the problem? And for what I have to make an alternative, I have to take the decision. First, the problem is being identified. You have to gather the relevant information. Relevant information as in to solve the problem, which all information is required. Because without getting the information, without collecting the information, you cannot solve any problem, right? So for solving the problem, make sure you are collecting all the relevant information. Then you have to identify the alternatives. Now, information you have selected, You have to identify which are the possible alternatives I am having with me. So how you can identify possible alternatives? You can identify the alternatives by considering past experiences, by asking, talking to the people. Then you will have all possible alternatives. Once that is done, weight your evidence. Weight your evidence means you have to check what are the positives and negatives, what are going to be the best results and what are going to be the pitfalls for taking this specific decisions. Once you have weighted the evidence, you have to choose among the best possible alternative. Now here is the time for you to select which is the best possible outcome, which is going to give me the result which I wanted to get. Now, once that evaluation is done, now what you have to do? You have to put your decision into action. Once you put it, the last step in decision making process says, evaluate your decision, whether you have achieved success or not. Ask yourself the three questions which we have discussed right now, the three questions about, three questions about, did you solve the problem? Was the problem solved? Did you answer to the questions which were arising in the minds of the employees? And if that is also done, did you achieve your goal? Did you meet your goal? These are the 7 steps which you have to consider when you are making a decision. Any doubts still here? No? Okay, so if you don't have any doubts, let's wind up the session. So it's done for the today. Now in the next session, that is of increase your inner happiness, we'll start that session in next 10 minutes. And then today we have the last session, that is career counseling, that will be at 4 o'clock. Right? Okay, bye-bye, take care.